Hello and welcome to CJB Games, Cameron here, and today we have another devlog for the game I'm solo making called Groundskeeping, a first-person multiplayer hotel maintenance horror game. With this new level set up and ready to go, last episode, we can start adding new features ready for the next playtest. The first thing I want to add is a simple warning that pops up when the user attempts to end their current session. As it stands, if the host leaves the game, then the game ends for everybody, so this warning will hopefully prevent any accidental session ends. This really wasn't too hard to achieve, and I even added a little bit of code so that the message only shows up when the user is playing online. Whilst I've been editing this widget, I've decided it's also a perfect time to add the function of spectate as well. There's a possibility in this game that some players would die a lot earlier than their friends during a session. So I want to include something for them to look at so they don't die of boredom waiting for their friends to escape or die as well. This whole process wasn't too complicated. Basically, when the user hits the next or previous button in the widget, they will possess the first-person character that is being controlled by their friends. They will then be able to cycle through these views and hopefully not be as bored. The final part of this feature is the location of the truck interior. The endgame plan is that when the players leave by escaping through the truck, they will be teleported really far down underneath the map where the interior of the truck will be located. So for now, all I have to do is whitebox the truck and include the code that teleports them there. Moving on, we can work on the main menu music we have for the game. Seeing as the Red Pig Inn isn't the only planned map, it would be really odd having music tailored for that map as the generic main music theme. So my idea is to have some more simple spooky music for the main menu, and then have a theme song that will play whenever the user is on that specific level or score page. For this new main menu theme, I saw some interesting low-toned hopeless music. Made sure it looped correctly and brought it into the engine. Then there was a little bit of code to add, so the game knew which music to play when. This wasn't too hard to do, but I just had to double check that the music worked on each individual widget created for the main menu. Now that the blueprints for the themes are in place, we can begin working on the Merton House theme that will play on that specific level select. I really like the idea of each level having their own theme as well, as it really helps bring out the character of each individual specific map. The Merton House theme was a lot easier to create than the Red Pig Inn one, as it had a lot less elements to it. The three parts to this one were static, stabbing sounds, and a woman laughing. The editing of the BP didn't take long, and now we have something that sounds like this. I should note as well that the stabbing and laughing sounds, similarly to the Red Pig Inn, are all randomised so the audio will never fully repeat itself. Now let's turn our attention to the player once again. Another feature that I wanted to include in this game is the ability for the player to equip and use taunts. I think this will be a great way of livening up the gameplay between friends, and it opens the door for some cool and creative ideas. The plan is to have some of them be purchased with in-game money, and some of them to be unlocked after doing well in the game, so the players can almost use them as a badge of honour to display how well they've done. Obviously, now I can't create the finished taunt as we don't even have a character, but there's nothing stopping me putting all the code and a placeholder taunt in there. So I did just that, and now we have a rock that spawns above the player and does a little dance. As you can see here, I had to do a fair few tests to make sure it was working across multiplayer as well. As well as being able to leave via the truck, I also want there to be a thick fog that wraps around the environment so the player can leave through that. Obviously this will be a lot easier to leave through than the truck, so in turn it will score the player a lot less points for doing so. The idea of the thick fog wrapping around the map also sounds quite expensive, so I plan to have versions that the user can switch between of one high quality fog and one low quality fog. Basically I've done this so regardless of what spec the player has, they can still play the game. Firstly, we can start on the low quality fog. This was essentially made by having a moving material on a plane. I then placed these planes all along the perimeter, and there we have it. Admittedly, it does not look great, but it will do for now and we can move on. Because this is just a plane, the user won't have their vision obscured as they go through it, so I decided to add a widget that greys out the user's screen when they pass through the plane. As I said, there will be two versions of the fog, so I need to create an option in the menu so that you can change this. This wasn't too difficult to do at all, as this is like the 5th option I've made for the game so far. Now it comes to the more expensive and nicer looking fog that can surround the map. For this one, we once again started off by creating a material in Unreal that's specifically tailored for volumetrics. Then, once we had one portion of the fog looking good, I pumped this into a Niagara system to get them spawning in a nice shape that will help us fill the perimeter of this map. This fog definitely looks a lot nicer, as it completely obstructs the player's vision and makes them feel like they're walking into the unknown. On the topic of adding options, I also want to add a subtitle option to the game. This won't do anything yet as there's no audio, but it's a good thing to get this in place now so it speeds things up later on. With that done, I also want to add the ability for the player to sprint in the game. This task was all code and not much else. It was pretty quick and easy to do, and I'm happy with the outcome. As it stands, the player has a stamina bar in the background that allows them to sprint for 5 seconds, and when it's depleted they will stop sprinting. If the player also goes back to walking, then their stamina will increase again. I've decided to leave the stamina bar invisible, as I feel like its inclusion would distract players and make the horror more gamified. And that about does it for sprint number 4. It was a rather quick sprint this time due to the Unreal change, but I'm happy with the healthy state the game is in and look forward to play testing it and starting sprint number 5. If you enjoyed this video and wanted to keep up to date with this project, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all next time.